Hare Krishna, Amajanatibandasya, Tsanamsalam Slakya, Saksal Militam Yena, Tasmai Sigurave Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Pracharini. Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachari Dusatarani. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Today we will discuss chapter 44, the 10th canto, the killing of Kamsa, but we will not yet hear today about the killing of Kamsa, but the wrestling match between Krishna and Balaram and Chanura, Mustika. And Friday we will hear in the next lesson about the killing of Kamsa. But before starting with this chapter, I will like to read some quotes of Nectar of Devotion on this text 17 of the previous chapter. You may remember this text 17 had a very long purport by all our acharyas. But there are also comments on Nectar of Devotion, and I would like to share them with you. But first I will read this key verse of the previous chapter again. Translation. The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered it with his elder brother. The wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt, the men of Mathura as the best of males, the women as Cupid in person, the coward men as their relative, the impious rulers as a chastiser, his parents as their child, the king of the Bhotjas as deaf, the unintelligence as the Supreme Lord's universal form, the yogis as the absolute truth, and the Vishnus as their supreme worshipful deity. So according to their own consciousness, they see Krishna different. Now, there are, in Nectar of Devotion, qualities of Krishna are described. And I want to read the passages especially which are related to this Krishna entering this arena and viewed by different people in different ways. So, first, go to the Veda base. This is from chapter 24, predominating. A person who can affect the mind of everyone is called predominating. So Krishna affected the mind of all this different, of all these different groups of people. As far as Krishna's predomination is concerned, in the 10th canto, 43rd chapter, verse 17 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is described thus by Sukadeva Goswami to King Parikshit. My dear king, Krishna is a thunderbolt to the wrestlers. To the common man, he is the most beautiful human being. To the young girls, he is just like Cupid. To the coward men and women, he is the most intimate relative. To the impious kings, he is a supreme ruler. To his parents, Nanda and Yasoda, he is just a baby. To Kamsa, the king of Bhoja, he is death personified. To the dull and stupid, he is just like a stone. To the yogis, he is the supreme absolute truth. The Vishnu is the supreme personality of Godhead. In such a predominating position, Krishna appeared in that arena along with his older brother Balaram. When Krishna, the reservoir of all mellows, was present in the arena of Kamsa, he appeared differently to different persons who were related to him in different mellows. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that he appears to every person according to one's relationship with him. Sometimes learned scholars describe predominating to mean a person intolerant of being neglected. This peculiarity in Krishna was visible when Kamsa was insulting Maharaj Nanda. Vasudeva was asking Krishna's assistance in killing Kamsa, and Krishna was glancing over Kamsa with longing eyes, just like a prostitute, and was just preparing to jump at the king. Then in the same Nectar of Devotion, in text 22, under the heading Popular, so it said, the last paragraph, a similar incident occurred when Krishna entered the arena of sacrifice arranged by King Kamsa for his death. As soon as he entered the place, all the sages began to cry, Jai, 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 which means victory. Krishna was a boy at that time, and all the sages offered their respectful blessings to him. The demigods who were present also began to offer beautiful prayers to Krishna, and the ladies and girls present expressed their joy from all corners of the arena. In other words, there was no one in that particular place with whom Krishna was not very popular. So that is popular, and then we have also chapter 28. Chapter 28, that coming stunned. The third paragraph, another example of being stunned took place when Krishna was surrounded by various wrestlers in the sacrificial arena of Kamsa. His mother Devika became stunned, and her eyes dried up when she saw Krishna among the wrestlers. That is becoming stunned. Now, in text in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 36, in 36, there is described that Daruka's reactions, that see. Okay, okay. In the Lalita Madhava by Rupa Goswami, there is the following statement by Daruka, one of the servants of Krishna. Certainly Lord Vishnu is very beautiful with his necklace of Kaustuba jewels, his four hands holding conch shell, dish, club and lotus flower, and his dazzlingly beautiful jewelry. He is also very beautiful in his eternal position, riding upon the shoulder of Garuda, but now the same Lord Vishnu is present as the enemy of Kamsa. And by his personal feature, I am completely forgetting the opulence of Vaikuntha. So we will also find out later when Mathura is going to be attacked Then 2 chariots will come from Vaikuntha, one for Krishna and one for Balaram. And the charioteer will be Daruka, coming from Vaikuntha. Now we have here nectar of devotion again. Yeah, of course. In verse 23 from chapter 13, there we have heard that the people would say, these boys are certainly expansions of the Supreme Lord Narayan. So they were thinking that Narayan is supreme and that he is an expansion. Nectar of devotion on verse 36. Hearing the words of Chanura, Krishna, who liked the challenge, replied words appropriate to the time and place. So when Chanura challenged Krishna, Krishna was very happy. He was enjoying, and that's a quality also described in Nectar of Devotion. Back to Nectar of Devotion. In chapter 24, there we have enjoying that when a person is seen to be always happy and is accustomed to speak smilingly, is considered to be in a mode of enjoyment. This trait was found in Krishna when he appeared at the sacrificial arena of King Kamsa. It is described that the lotus-eyed Krishna entered among the wrestlers without being impolite to them, glanced over them with determination, and seemed to them just like an elephant attacking some plants. Even while speaking to them, Krishna was still smiling, and in this way he stood valiantly upon the wrestling dice. So, Lord Krishna, whether he's with the gopis or on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, is always enjoying that. So that it is all fun for him. It is a lot of fun. He likes to wrestle, so this is a good challenge for him. So now the fight will begin, and we will read text 1 from the chapter we are starting today, chapter 44. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Shuka Vacha Evam Shashita Sankalpo Bhagavan Madhusudana Asasadata Chanuram Mustikam Oinistuta. Sukadev Goswami said, thus addressed Lord Krishna made up his mind to accept the challenge. He paired off with Chanura and Lord Balaram with Mustika. That's text 2. Seizing each other's hands and locking legs with each other, the opponents struggled powerfully, eager for victory. They each struck fists against fists, knees against knees, head against head, and chest against chest. Each fighter contended with his opponent by dragging him about in circles, shoving and crushing him, throwing him and running before him and behind him. Purport: Srila Sridhar Swami explains that the word pariramba indicates crushing one's opponents with one's arms. Text 5. Forcefully lifting and carrying each other, pushing each other away, and holding each other down, the fighters hurt even their own bodies in their eagerness for victory. So Srila Jiva Goswami explains that although Krishna and Balaram did not, of course, harm themselves, it appeared that way that Sanura, Mustika and others of mundane vision, in other words, the lords, were fully absorbed in the pastime of being wrestlers. So it was a really good show. It wouldn't be fun if they went in and knocked them dead right away. No, they played around just, they actually behaved as wrestlers. They had fun. But not everyone was appreciating the performance. No, that we will hear in the next verse, verse 6. My dear king, all the women present, considering the match an unfair fight between the strong and the weak, felt extremely anxiety. Due to compassion, they assembled in groups around the arena and spoke to one another as follows. That so text 6 and 7, 6. That was 6, yeah, now 7. The women said, alas, what a greatly irreligious act the members of this royal assembly are committing. As the king watches this fight between the strong and the weak, they also want to see it. Purport. The idea the ladies are expressing is that if the king somehow wanted to see such an unfair match, why should the respectable members of the assembly also desire to see it? Those feelings are natural. Even nowadays, in a public place, we find a violent fight going on between a very strong and large person and a weaker, smaller person. We are aroused to indignation. Compassionate women are especially offended and enraged by such unfair violence. So now the ladies are speaking. Text 8. What comparison can there be between these two professional wrestlers, with limbs as strong as lightning bolts and bodies resembling mighty mountains, and these two young immature boys with exceeding tender limbs? That text 8. That is text 8. So externally it looked like an unfair fight. And this verse is very significant because it describes the ladies. The ladies describe Krishna and Balaram as Kishore. They found out what is their age. And they are in the Kishore age, 10 to 15. They are not yet teenagers, they are very young. That now continue. Text 9 and 10, and we will read the commentaries also of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Religious principles have certainly been violated in this assembly. One should not remain for even a moment in a place where religion is flourishing. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Certainly there is irreligion, dharma vatikrama at this assembly, samayasya. No one should stay there. Therefore, we should leave this place. That's interpretation of the comment of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. 10. A wise person should not enter an assembly if he knows the participants they are committing acts of impropriety. And if, having entered such an assembly, he fails to speak the truth, speaks falsely, or pleads ignorance, he will surely incur sin. That Srila Vishwanath Bhakti Thakur comments. Another group of women spoke. We have committed offense by coming here. They quote the rules of scripture in this verse. If someone knows that there is injustice in an assembly and remains silent or speaks in opposition, though knowing says he does not know, he is at fault. The intelligent man will not go to that assembly. Those who simply follow the opinions of the majority are forbidden from entering such an assembly. The wise man does not care for the opinion of others, can enter the assembly. In the Mahabharata, Sabha, Parva, Bhima and others, because they were compliant with the majority, did not say anything. They were silent. Vidura was independent and could not speak the principles of Dharma. In Kamsa's assembly, the intelligent persons were all dependent on the majority and were therefore silent. So text 11. Just see the lotus face of Krishna as he darts around with his foe. That face, covered with drops of perspiration, brought on by strenuous fight, resembles a lotus covered with dew. That Vishwanath Bhakti Thakur. But Krishna and Balaram do not appear to get tired. There is no fault in this much, since they are seen to be very strong. Fearing such an objection, they speak this verse. See, Krishna is showing fatigue, with perspiration all over his moon-like face being pursued here, and there by the opponent. Vadana Ambuja is here taken as moon face, since the word Ambuja and mean lotus. Moon or conch comparison with a lotus is given later in this verse. Now text 12. Don't you see the face of Lord Balaram with its eyes copper red from his anger toward Mustika, and its beauty enhanced by his slaughter in his absorption in the fight? So Vishwanath Bhakti Thakur. Out of anger, Balaram struck Mustika and became tired. He appeared splendid, and he was absorbed in fighting, laughing out of anger. Interesting. So the next verse, verse 13, is an important verse, because this verse is spoken by the ladies of Mathura. We are going to find out who these ladies are who are speaking. So we hear text 13 and the purport. How pious are the tracts of land of Vraj, for there the primeval personality of Godhead, disguising himself with human threads, wanders about, enacting his many pastimes, adorned with wonderfully variegated forest garlands. He whose feet are worshipped by Lord Shiva and the goddess Rama vibrates his flute and he tends the cows in the company of Balaram. So, purport. In this verse, the devotees ladies in the audience point out the difference between Mathura and Vrindavan. They want to indicate that in Vrindavan, Krishna simply enjoys with his girlfriends and boyfriends, whereas here in Mathura, the Lord is subjected to harassment by the bullying tactics of professional wrestlers. Thus the ladies are condemning the city of Mathura because of their pain at seeing Krishna in what they consider an unfair wrestling match. Of course, Mathura is also one of the Lord's eternal abodes, but here the women in the assembly express their love in a critical mood. So, interesting is that this verse here, this verse is in the present tense. Like, he's still there in Braj. And Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the Brihad Bhagavatamrita explains a bit about this present tense. The commentators will point this out. So sometimes the personality of Godhead is present in his other abodes without showing himself, but never so in Vrindavan. He's always present in Mathura. Nityam Satyam Tihitoari. But the word for present, Sanahita, can also mean hidden. In Mathura, the Lord, although present, may be hidden. In contrast, even after Krishna and Balaram transferred them to Mathura, the ladies of Mathura describe the Lord's wandering throughout Vraj in his present tense, implying that he was still manifest there and is now, as he is now and always. So this verse is proof that Krishna always stays in Vrindavan, since the ladies were speaking in the present tense. We'll now first read a commentary on this verse of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. In this verse, the wives of the Brahmins who did the Jagya in Vraj, so these are the Jagya Patnis, or those associating with them speak, being pained on seeing the unequal combat and realizing that Krishna had great power with great prema mixed with Aishvarya Gram, they praise Vraj and its inhabitants, and by that criticize Mathura and its residents. How astonishing it is, Bhatta. In Vraj, with his Svarup as a human, the material man cannot understand him, Nrilinga Guda. He wanders around, engaging in various playful activities by his own desires, Vikrita. We Mathura are most unfortunate because we simply persecute him like this, and these people are simply watching. Though Vraj is just a forest, it is most fortunate, for here Krishna played his flute and blissfully engaged in pastimes, and the residents of Vraj looked on with bliss. So this verse and the next two verses are quoted in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami. That it is part of the Bhakti Rasayana, these 4 verses now, 13, 14, 15, 16. They are part of this Bhakti Rasayana. I read some of the commentaries by Sanatana Goswami on this verse. So Sanatana Goswami says, outraged women spoke the verse under discussion, in which they declared that only Vraj Bhumi is a pious place, not unlike the metropolis of Mathura. The women refer to Vraja Bhuva. That's in the Sanskrit in verse 13. They refer to Vraja Bhuva in the plural to indicate its offering of respect, to indicate its large extent, and to include not only the land of Vraj, but all its living beings, and even thick stones and other inert objects. So even the bricks and stones of Vraj were pious. In Vraj, Krishna is visible to everyone's eyes, and with all his charm wandering about enjoying his different pastimes. But in assembly, Krishna here is being threatened. They should be condemned, but the land of Vraj where Krishna moves about is pious. People of that place are good, but the residents of the city are not. So while speaking this verse, the women used the word ajam, this. They even pointed to Krishna with their finger, but they did not say his name, because they considered him as their own husband. They are the wives of the Brahmins. A chaste woman does not speak about her husband by name, so this is one reason why they didn't say Krishna, but rather this one. Another reason is that if they pronounce this name out loud, they may lose control of themselves in ecstasy. So the ladies are talking about Krishna, but they are not calling Krishna by name. So someone hearing the women condemn Mathura might say that assert by the authoritative prediction of the Rishi Garga. The Rishi Garga. It is already known that Krishna would become the master of Mathura. Therefore, the city and its residents are destined to become very fortunate. Still, the women of Mathura insisted that Vrajabhuma is the only truly pious place. In Braj, Krishna wears all sorts of garlands made of forest flowers. He's always accompanied by Bala, his older brother Balaram, or by forces, Bala, an army of friends. The two meanings of the word Bala. Krishna plays his flute and enjoys the rasa dance and other pastimes with his devotees, but the residents of Mathura think of Krishna quite differently. Mathura is eminent, means eminence, Kshatriyas, steeped in knowledge of Smriti and Shruti, they always see Krishna as a timeless personality of Godhead, an attitude that prevents them of having a more intimate relationship with Krishna. They see him as Vasudeva in the heart, so they feel no urge or need to have him always present before them outside the heart. So the people of the Yadu dynasty see Krishna as Paramatma. Here it is said, with 4 arms and all the opulent features, and they remember how he is worshipped by Lord Shiva and the demigods. So this is what is said in this verse 13. He is worshipped by Lord Shiva and the goddess Rama. You would not hear the Vrajavasis talk about the demigods, that they think Krishna is just their little boy. They are unaware of Krishna's supremacy, that he is Paramatma, the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the residents of Mathura cannot attain fullness of prema as the Vrajavasis. In Vrindavan, all the Vrajavasis are always eager to see Krishna. They cannot be absent from him, even for a moment. We heard the gopis condemning the Creator to have created eyelids that blink, that they do not feel the great separation as the residents of Vraj do. Now Sanatana Goswami tells a few differences between Krishna in Mathura and Krishna in Vraj. Krishna never appears among them decorated with wonderful garlands of forest flowers as he does among the Vrajavasis. If by his royal wealth he acquires such beautiful garlands in the city of Mathura, we cannot expect him tending cows there. He may get a garland or two, but he's not taking care of the cows. And even if he owns a few cows and plays and taking care of them, how in Mathura can he always be in the company of Balaram? In Vrindavan, Krishna and Balaram are always together. Very often, one of the two brothers who has to go somewhere else to carry out his duty. How can Krishna play with all the young cowherd boys? He's a king. He can't play with the cowherd boys. He can be with Balaram. So the young Yadus may sometimes dress up as cowherd boys and play games to imitate Krishna in Braj, but in Mathura, Krishna plays his flute. But in Mathura, in Vrindavan, Krishna plays his flute. So these are all differences. Why Krishna in Mathura is different? He does not perform Vrindavan pastimes like Rasa Lila in Mathura, that by using the word Kridaya in this verse, Sanatana Goswami says, the speakers of this verse hinted at Krishna's rasa dance, but due to feminine shyness, they avoided mentioning it by name. So the last phrase of the verse states, Krishna's feet are worshipped by Giritra, Rama, Lord Shiva, and Lakshmi Devi. But there is another way to understand these words. The way that shows careful regard for the consistency of the verse is glorification of Vrajabhumi. When Krishna held Govardhan hill, Srimati Radharani freed him from the danger of dropping the mountain by relieving him from his fatigue with her loving glance. She, the original goddess of fortune, Rama, saved him from the mountain Giritra. So Giritra, Ram, can also mean Radharani, relieving him from the tiredness of holding Govardhan hill with her glance. That's quite a different meaning of the same words. Sanatana Goswami continues, or else there is another meaning of Giritra, Rama. Radha gives pleasure to Govardhan Dara. She is called Giritra Rama. She worships Krishna's feet, but only in Braj. So only Braj is pious. It is said in Brihad Bhagavatamrita that Parikshit is speaking this verse, quoting the women of Mathura, and he realized when he spoke this verse, because of his advanced level of prema, he felt the mood of the women of Mathura, and in this frame of mind he sung this verse. So the next verse is also spoken by the women of Mathura, glorifying the gopis. And that is verse 14. If we go now to verse 14, just a moment. What austerities must the gopis have performed? With their eyes, they always drink the nectar of Lord Krishna's form, which is the essence of loveliness and is not be equaled or surpassed. That loveliness is the only abode of beauty, fame and opulence. It is self-perfect and ever fresh and extremely rare. I will read a comment on Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on this. Those who have accrued heaps of pious activities are born in the land of Vraj. Among them the gopis are the best. This is expressed in this verse. What austerities did the gopis do? If anyone is omniscient, then please tell us what austerities they performed. We will perform the same austerities and be born as gopis in Vraj. They want to know the process to become a gopi in Vraj. They drink the nectar of his beauty, while we at the arena drink the poison of his injury. We sit here filled with fever from the tips of our nails to the tips of our hair. By mentioning that as a result of austerities, they could see the beauty of Krishna's form. They also indicate that it resulted in being embraced by his arms, which could be expressed in words on that occasion. I should not say that he was most excellent because of his superior beauty. Rather, the essence of all beauty was his Svarup, Lavanya, Sharam. As the earth seems inferior to Svaraloka, when we see his form, it just appears to be the best. But if we go to Vaikuntha, we will understand that the form of Narayan is much more sweet. To answer this, the woman says, the form of Krishna is unequaled, as amortam. There is no form beyond this. From who did Krishna receive this form? The answer is from no one. This form is intrinsic to him, Ananya Siddha. That may be so, but if these women constantly see this one form, it will no longer be so amazing after some time. They answer, his forms becomes newer at every moment. It is forever increasingly amazing. Then other people can come to Braj and see this form at leisure. But this form is also not available even to Lakshmi. Let that be. His beauty is super excellent quality, but Narayan and others are more endowed, having 6 opulences. Krishna is the shelter of all these opulence, Ekantadam, such as fame. It's a surprising analysis by So the women from Mathura undergo great suffering seeing Krishna in the arena. In the 10th canto, chapter 21, verse 7, which is quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and this verse is also about becoming as fortunate as the gopis. That also, when we read the next verse, that so I will read this verse. Just a moment, I get that from the database here. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 21. The gopis glorify the song of Krishna's flute. Text 7. There it says, the coward girl said, "O friends, those eyes that see the beautiful faces of the sons of Maharaj Nanda are certainly fortunate. All these 2 sons enter the forest surrounded by their friends, driving the cows before them. They hold their flutes to their mouths and glance lovingly upon the residents of Vrindavan. For those who have eyes, we think there is no greater object. Vision." So this verse is quoted in Adi Lila 4.155, and we will read from the purport of that verse. That yes. So perhaps in Chaitanya Charitamrita on this verse by Prabhupada. Like the gopis, one can see Krishna continuously if one is fortunate enough. In the Brahma Samhita it is said that sages whose eyes have been smeared with the ointment of pure love can see the form of Shyamasundar Krishna continuously in the centers of their heart. The text from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.21.7 was sung by the gopis on the advent of the Sharad season. Also in 2 verses further in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 4.157. The sweetness of Lord Krishna is unprecedented, and its strength is also unprecedented. Simply by hearing of such beauty, the mind becomes unsteady. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita we have a commentary by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on this verse, on this verse 14, about what glories they are performing, and also about Krishna's beauty. So we find that in Madhya Lila. Go to the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just a moment. Madhya Lila 21, chapter 21, verse 113. Let's see. Yeah. The bodily beauty of Sri Krishna is like a wave in the ocean of eternal youth. In that great ocean is the whirlpool of the awakening of ecstatic love. The vibration of Krishna's flute is like a whirlwind, and the flickering minds of the gopis are like straws and dry leaves. After they fall down in the whirlwind, they never rise again, but remain eternally at the lotus feet of Krishna. And it goes on in the next verse. Oh my dear friend, what severe austerities have the gopis performed to drink this transcendental beauty and sweetness to their eyes in complete fulfillment. Thus they glorify their births, bodies, and minds. And further, next verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it goes on until text 120, we will read them all. The sweetness of Krishna's beauty enjoyed by the gopis is unparalleled. Nothing is equal or greater than such ecstatic sweetness. Even the predominating deities of the Vaikuntha planets, the Narayans, do not possess such sweetness. Indeed, none of the incarnations of Krishna up to Narayan possess such transcendental beauty. The vivid evidence in this regard is that the dearest consort of Narayan, the goddess of fortune, who is worshipped by all chaste women, gave up everything in her desire to enjoy Krishna, being captivated by his unparalleled sweetness. Thus she took a great vow and underwent severe austerities. The quintessence of Krishna's sweet bodily luster is so perfect that there is no perfection above it. It is the immutable mine of all transcendental qualities. In his other manifestation and personal expansions, there is only a partial exhibition of such qualities. We understand all his personal expansions in this way. Both the gopis and Krishna engage in competition. The gopis' ecstatic love is like the mirror that becomes newer and newer at every moment and reflects Krishna's bodily luster and sweetness. Thus their competition increases. Since they neither give up, their pastimes become newer and newer, and both sides constantly increase. The transcendental mellow generated from the dealings between the gopis and Krishna cannot be tasted by means of fruitive activity, yogic austerity, speculative knowledge, regulative devotional service, mantra yoga, or meditation. This sweetness can be tasted only through the spontaneous love of liberated persons who chant the holy names with great ecstatic love. Such ecstatic transaction between Krishna and the gopis are possible only in Vrindavan, which is full of opulences of transcendental love. The form of Krishna is the original source of all transcendental qualities. It's like a mine of gems. The opulences belonging to all personal expansions of Krishna are to be understood, to be bestowed by Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is the original source and shelter of everyone. So, we go back to, text 116. This is about the goddess of fortune who is worshipped by all chaste women. She gave up everything in her desire to enjoy Krishna. So this is an example of someone who tried to become a gopi, performing austerities for thousands of years and still performing austerities at the Yamuna. She's still trying, but so far she did not succeed. Now we will go to Chaitanya Bhagavat. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there in the Adi Lila chapter 2 verse 171, it says, in the form of Krishna, you are unlimitedly enchanting in your Gokul pastimes. This includes all other incarnations. Then they quote this verse 14, which we are discussing now. And in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita there is the following. The various wonderful sweet pastimes exhibited by the Lord in this world are superior by the opulent pastimes exhibited by Lord Narayan among the demigods. So here in the material world, when Krishna comes, that is higher than the Vaikuntha pastimes. His sweet pastimes in Gokul are the topmost. All moving and non-moving living entities become jubilant upon seeing the form of Gopendra Nandana Krishna. So in the Brahmanda Purana it is stated, all my various forms are full of 6 opulences, but there is no comparison to my form as a cowherd boy. The Padma Purana also says, the characteristics of Krishna are certainly wonderful. His pastimes as a cowherd boy are most enchanting. So even though these ladies are seeing Krishna face to face, in Mathura there is his presence. Still they are saying that they are not fortunate. The gopis are fortunate. So that is the highest form, Krishna's form of a cowherd boy. These ladies are aware of the difference, of the different forms of Krishna in Mathura and Krishna in Vrindavan. They are saying that Krishna as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan is the best, and the gopis seeing him are the most fortunate. So this verse 14 is also quoted in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita from Sanatana Goswami. And there the question is, what austerities had the gopis performed? First, the ladies praised the gopis for always seeing the beauty of Krishna's transcendental form. If you read the Vedas and the scriptures, then it describes various benefits to be awarded by a variety of disciplines. The women of Mathura had never heard of anyone receiving such a benefit as bestowed upon the gopis. So in the Vedas it doesn't tell what you have to do to become a gopi. That's not there. Everything else, karma, jnana, whatever you want, but how to become a gopi is not taught in the Vedas. So what benefit did the gopis get? This is not explained in much detail. What penances, religious duties, or meditation could enable one to attain such perfection? What austerities could the gopis of Vraja have performed to earn the privilege of drinking Krishna's beauty with their eyes, directly relishing his beauty, the way one relishes his nectar with his tongue? Sanatana Goswami further. Out of reference for Krishna, of the city women cannot utter his names. So here is not a reason why they could not say his name. According to these ladies, Krishna is the most charming of persons. But if you see him in Vrindavan, they are remembering him from Vrindavan because they saw him in Vrindavan. They had to experience these Jagnapatnis. So this is not... This is not so nice to see him in Mathura wrestling with these big wrestlers. Better to see him playing his flute and tending the cows. This is the way to see Krishna. Even those who consider him an avatar of Krishna cannot find any other avatar equal to him. Even if you think he's an avatar of Vishnu, you won't find another incarnation such as Krishna. One who knows that he is the source of all avatars can understand that no one is greater. The pastimes in Vaikuntha are not so great as the pastimes in Golok. Lord Krishna is the original, Ananya Siddham, can be understood in another way. That Sanatana Goswami continues. This is a Sanskrit word from the verse. It means that all excellences of Krishna are not realized anywhere else but in Braj. Krishna's glories are never satiated, but they are always experienced, expanding. They are always newer at every moment. So the full glories of Krishna are very difficult to realize. Other than the gopis, no one can expect to know them directly, and only the gopis have Krishna completely under their control. So they use the present tense again. To use the present tense, pibanti. By this they mean to say the beauty of Krishna never actually abandons the gopis, for the gopis never fail to see him, even if he's not physically, even when he's physically absent. Even if they are in separation from Krishna, they are still seeing him. In their hearts they see him, in their dreams they see him, in the coward pastures of Vraj they see Krishna. So they are most fortunate. We ladies of Mathura are not at all pious. We see him only at inauspicious times and places, and we cannot drink the nectar of the beauty with the same love and respect of the gopis. So in Mathura the ladies are lamenting that they are not so fortunate as the gopis. So then verse 15 tells how to become fortunate as the gopis. Good to know how to become fortunate as the gopis. It will also be explained by the commentaries, and there are very long commentaries, and we will read some of them. But first, text 15. Text 15. Just a moment. Yeah. The ladies of Vraj are the most fortunate of women. With their minds fully attached to Krishna and their throats always choked up with tears, they constantly sing about him while milking the cows, winnowing grain, churning butter, gathering cow dung for fuel, riding on swings, taking care of the crying babies, sprinkling the ground with water, cleaning their houses, and so on. By their exalted Krishna consciousness, they automatically acquire all desirable things. So the word in the Sanskrit, there we find a word that comes back regularly in this chapter. There's the word urukrama. That we will hear some meanings of this word urukrama. So that will be explained by Sanatana Goswami in his commentary on this verse. What is urukrama? Though Brahma and others carry him in their hearts, the difference between the gopis and Lord Brahma is that Krishna is carrying the gopis in his heart and is therefore urukrama. So Brahma is carrying Krishna in his heart. Of course, the gopis also are carrying Krishna in their hearts too, but Krishna doesn't necessarily carry Brahma in his heart. He might thinking of him sometimes, but the gopis are always there. Just a little moment. that Bhagavatam Prabhu, can you give me some water? Thank you. So in this way, the great fortune of the gopis is expressed. This is quoted by Sanatana Goswami in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So, a lot of information in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So Sanatana Goswami. Even if within the course of Krishna's infinite pastimes, the gopis are unable to see that most clever Krishna, they can remain submerged in the notion of transcendental pleasure by chanting his glories. What makes the gopis fortunate is that they are always chanting Hare Krishna. The gopis do not engage in Sankirtan only when circumstances are conducive, when they are performing special services for him, like making garlands. They chant his name and glories always, in all situations. Describing the rasa dance, Parasara Muni said in the Vishnu Purana, Krishna sang about the autumn moon in his light, while the gopis simply sang Krishna's name over and over and over. Now Krishna sang about the autumn moon in his light shining on his lotus palms, while the gopis simply sang Krishna's name over and over again. So there is another verse here. While Krishna sang the Rasa dance song, the gopis congratulated him and redoubled their chanting of Krishna, Krishna. So whatever Krishna would say, the gopis would say Krishna's name even during the Rasa Lila. This is explained when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was having the evening Sankirtan in Srivas Thakur's house, it was in the mood of the Rasa Lila night Kirtan. This phrase, Vrajastriya, women of Vraj, does not just indicate the gopis, but also women who live in the forest. The city ladies who are speaking are not careful to distinguish between the gopis of Nanda's community and the other women of Vraj, who are mostly aborigines. So they are glorifying not only the gopis, even the aborigines. They are more fortunate than we are, because they can see Krishna playing his flute. So all the women who came in contact with Krishna in the forest, whether they are children, young girls and old women, became rich in the highest favor of the goddess of fortune. Only the women of Vraj have this kind of excellent luck, not the women of any other place. So Krishna is fighting in the arena, but right in the middle it comes here, this Vraja Lila. That's interesting. So don't forget Braj. Sukadev does not want to forget Braj. Krishna may be busy in Mathura, but don't forget about Krishna in Braj. He's still there, he's still enjoying. But only the fortunate people can see. Those whose eyes are smeared with the love of Krishna, they are fortunate, because they are always engaged in Sankirtan, no matter what else they do. If you want to become fortunate, then there is the actual answer to that question. What austerity are they doing? They are chanting. They are always chanting 24 hours Kirtan. If you aspire to become a servant of the gopis, then you should always chant the Hare Krishna Maha mantra. All activities of the gopis, as mentioned in this verse, were occasions for Sankirtan, which increased their ecstasy. Thus, according to the purport of Sanatana Goswami from Brihad Bhagavatamrita, this is according to the purport from Sanatana Goswami from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And this verse is also part of the Bhakti sign, a tonic for bhakti. So the gopis are so absorbed in Krishna's glories, they are hardly aware of the effort they do while working. They are into the chanting. This is their main thing, their absorption in chanting. The rest they do mechanically, automatic. Their chanting is so intense that they actually see Krishna. That is the way to chant. They see Krishna either by the power of their meditation, they see him in the heart as he plays all around Vrajabhumi, or else they make excuses to take their work out into the pastures, and they are directly seeing him playing there. Sometimes the presence of their elders make them too shy to sing about Krishna, so then they fly to where Krishna is by the inner vehicle of their minds, helplessly attracted by the power of the Lord Urukrama, who in truth appears into their mind, who appears and secretly in their mind. Krishna appears then secretly in the mind of his best devotees. So this is a very confidential meaning of this word Urukrami. He appears secretly in the mind of his devotees. That like a thief secretly, like a thief. He steals and comes into your mind like a thief. When he is there, you notice, but you don't know how he got there. As the gopis chant about Krishna, their minds are more and more attracted to him. They are unable to think coherently about anything else. Shedding tears of love, they sob uncontrolled, their hearts go swiftly to join Krishna wherever he is. They are the most fortunate women. They chant always Krishna's glories, think about him, and always feel deeply attracted to him in pure love. So how to see Krishna? By chanting the holy names always, and the example is the gopis. The words Anurakto Dio Shrukantio, which describes how the gopis sing, can be understood to be a response to the following doubt. Isn't it true that a woman does what she does only because she is attracted to doing it? The gopis must have some attraction for household work, otherwise why should they be so busy doing it? How can it then be said that they are immersed totally and exclusively in love for Krishna? The women of Mathura respond by commenting that such symptoms, such as tears in the eyes, prove that the gopis' minds are full of love and attraction for Krishna. That the gopis do their household duties only for his sake. But then another doubt may arise. With such distracted minds, how could the gopis maintain their bodies and fulfill their family duties, responsibilities, and their work going on? If they are always chanting, how can their work go on? So this is a question often asked by non-devotees. If you just chant Hare Krishna, then how will the work go on? What will happen to this world? So this is a very good question. So how could the gopis do it? And the answer is, Krishna is Urukrama, another meaning for Urukrama. Here is a wonderful meaning. This is a wonderful meaning of Urukrama. The Supreme Lord who possesses amazing energies and accomplishes wonderful feats. So Krishna has amazing energies, Urukrama, and he does wonderful things. The gopis, by fixing their mind on him, they carry out their duties and obtain whatever is needed. Even though the gopis think only of Krishna and nothing else, they are free from anxiety. They do everything they are obliged to fulfill. Everything they do is for his satisfaction. If your distraction is Krishna, then Krishna will take care of your duty, of your duties. You don't need to worry. If you are attracted to something else, then that won't happen. This describes also that the gopis singing about Krishna is the most prominent. Their remembrance and visions of him come as natural consequences of the primary service of singing his glories. That's why the gopis meditating on Krishna and singing and visioning him are not explicitly mentioned, because the most important thing is chanting. The ladies of Mathura conclude, these women are the most fortunate. They are attracted to Krishna. They are not in Braj. They cannot see Krishna. They are seeing Krishna's face to face, but they don't see him very happily. Now we go to, that was a long comment on text 15, and now we go to text 16. 16. When the gopis hear Krishna playing his flute as he leaves Vraj in the morning with his cows or returns with him at sunset, the young girls quickly come out of their houses to see him. They must have performed many pious activities to be able to see him as he walks on the road, his smiling face mercifully glancing upon them. Now I want to go to Krishna book. Krishna book. This is, we are going to chapter 44, of course. Impersonality of God. Just a moment. Yeah, I have it. Chapter 44. And there we go to the 6th paragraph from the beginning. Yeah, here. The gopis give a perfect example of how one can execute Krishna consciousness even while performing various types of material engagement. By constantly being absorbed in the thought of Krishna, one cannot be affected by the contamination of material activities. The gopis, therefore, are perfectly in trance samadhi, the highest perfectional stage of mystic power. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that one who is constantly thinking of Krishna is a first-class yogi among all kinds of yogis. My dear friend, one lady told another, we must accept the activities of the gopis to be the highest form of piety. Otherwise, how could they have achieved the opportunity of seeing Krishna both morning and evening? In the morning, when he goes to the pasturing grounds with his cows and cowherd boyfriends, and in the evening when he returns, playing on his flute and smiling very brilliantly. So this is verse 16, and we heard Srila Prabhupada from Krishna book on verse 16. That is the last verse quoted about Braj. According to Sanatana Goswami, these 4 verses are a tonic. When your bhakti is getting low and you need some inspiration, then these are parts of the bhakti rasayan. That Sanatana Goswami says, we ladies of Mathura may also have the privilege of seeing Krishna in all his glory. We too may be able to glorify him in Sankirtan while we engage in our activities, at least after he kills Kamsa and remains here with us. But the experience will never be the same for us as it is for the gopis of Vraj. For only they can watch Krishna in the morning when he leaves for the forest, in the evening when he returns home. Only they see him surrounded by scouts and scoured friends. So as soon as the gopis hear his flute, they come outside. On the road on which he will walk, they may be powerless women, abala, devoid of strength, but still they are the most fortunate and pious of the human beings. Then Sanatana Goswami describes what the gopis see. When Krishna comes in view, the gopis do not only see him, but also hear his flute and the jingling of his foot bells as he walks with the grace of a skilled dancer. Krishna's face is always adorned with merciful glances, and no one ever sees him not smiling. The gopis, even while gazing on Krishna's beauty, are in anxiety because they know that soon he will be out of sight. What is so fortunate about Krishna's seeing going out of the forest? What is so auspicious about being left in anguish of separation? In fact, however, everything in connection with Krishna is auspicious, even if it superficially appears to be a cause of suffering. They see him in the morning, and they see him also returning in the late afternoon, having anguished in their home during the day, like lotuses almost dead for being overexposed to sunlight. The gopis ran out of their houses as soon as the nectar of Krishna's flute enters their ears. Each time they see Krishna, it's like a festival for them. Every morning they make various excuses to come early to Mother Yasoda's house to see Krishna and following until he leaves for the forest. They are completely absorbed morning and evening. They are meditating on how to get out of their houses to be near to Krishna. But when they are playing his flute, they at once run outside. For the sound of the flute arousing in them the urges of Cupid, rendering them hopeless and weak, abala. As repeatedly explained in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the gopis receive the greatest mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead when they are emerged in the mood of separation. Nonetheless, the women of Mathura limit themselves to this described ecstasy of seeing Krishna, because the subject of the gopis' feelings of separation is beyond their grasp. So they don't know how the gopis are feeling in separation, and they have not even mentioned the supreme glories of Krishna's Rasa Lila, since they wonder of merely seeing Krishna is difficult. Since the wonder of merely seeing Krishna is difficult for the materialist women to describe, what can they tell about the gopis' greatest fortune to be able to dance with Krishna in Rasa Lila? The Mathura women lament. Because our stock of pious credits is so meager, we will never be able to see Krishna in this way. So this is the end of the women speaking, but Sukadev Goswami continues. Text 17. As the women spoke thus, O hero of the Bharatas, Lord Krishna, the master of all mystic power, made up his mind to kill his opponent. So why is he called here mystic, the master of all mystic powers? So this is explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Krishna was the best of yogis, though the people seated around the arena were talking to themselves. Krishna could hear it. Being the best of yogis, hearing their talk, he decided to kill Chanura, as what was the necessity of giving those attracted women suffering. So Krishna could feel and hear what the women were saying in the audience. Krishna knows everything, of course, but he knew what they were saying. And therefore he decided, okay, don't let me kill Sanura. Now we are going to text 18. 18 we will read the remaining verses of today. Out of affection for the two lords, their parents Devaki and Vasudeva became overwhelmed with sorrow when they heard the women's fearful statements. They grieved, not knowing their son's strength. So the Nectar of Devotion describes a bit more what was happening with Devaki at that moment. So I will go now to Nectar of Devotion. Nectar of Devotion, and we are going to chapter 31. 31. It's nearly chapter, the 17th paragraph. Let's see. It starts when Devaki, from 31. When Devaki, the mother of Krishna, saw her son very jubilant in the presence of the wrestlers in Kamsa's arena, two kinds of tears were simultaneously gliding down her cheeks. Sometimes her tears were warm, sometimes they were cold. This is an instance of a conjunction of jubilation and lamentation due to different causes of ecstatic love. So Devaki felt happy and her tears were cold. And so sometimes sorrowful tears came, they were hot. Text 19. So Lord Balaram and Mustika, expertly displaying numerous wrestling techniques, battled each other in the same way that Lord Krishna and his opponent did. 2021. The harsh blows from the Supreme Lord's limb fell like a crushing lightning bolts upon Chanura, breaking every part of his body and causing him more and more pain and fatigue. So, purport, Chanura's elbows, arms, knees, and other limbs were all weakening. 20. We have just read 20. 21. Furious Chanura attacked Lord Vasudeva with the speed of a hawk and struck his chest with both fists. Purport. It appears that Chanura, realizing he was being defeated, became furious and made a final attempt to defeat Lord Krishna. The demon certainly had the spirit of a good fighter, but if he hoped for victory, he was certainly in the wrong place, was the wrong time, with the wrong person. 22-23. No more shaken by the demon's mighty blows than an elephant struck with a flower garland, Krishna grabbed Chanura by his arms, swung him around several times and hurled him onto the ground with great force. His clothes, hair, garlands scattering, the wrestler fell down dead like a huge festival column collapsing. Purport. Srila Swami explains the words Indra Dvaja as follows. in Bengal, on the occasion of a certain festival, people erect a tall column in the form of a man and decorate it with flags, banners, etc. He, Chanura, fell just like a pole might fall. That 24-25. Similarly, Mustika struck Lord Balabhadra with his fist and was slain, receiving violent blow from the mighty Lord's palms. The demon trembled all over in great pain, vomited blood, and then fell lifeless into the ground like a tree blown by the wind. So here we come to the end of the section we have to cover today. Amazingly, we spoke not so much about the wrestlers, but about the gopis in Braj. So, any comment or questions, please? Okay.
Maharaj, I have a question.
Yeah, a moment. We will first hear from Mother Prabhupada here.
Okay.
And then, if you can raise your hand, that's more easy to manage. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Just a quick question. I thought I heard you mentioning before that Vasudeva and Devaki were not there because they were in the prison. But it seems that they were there.
Yeah, they were there. That
They were there.
was a mistake. That was my assumption, but it's not. They were there. That's interesting. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. That. Yes. Mother Sitarani, please.
Yes, Maharaj. I was wondering that most of these activities of Krishna and gopis were not really open even to residents of Vrindavan. You know, they were very secret, very confidential. So how do these women of Mathura know about all these activities?
Yes, that's a good point. But it is clear from the purports also, commentaries of our acharyas, that these women who are speaking, at least some of the verses, they are spoken by the Jachna Patnis. And they were they were discussed before in the chapter when the cowherd boys begged for food from them because they could not get it from their husbands. And yes, and they have seen Krishna in Vrindavan, and they had the experience that, but when they are speaking, it seems that appears also from the commentaries that they are not really aware of the elevated position of the gopis. For them, the Pulindas, the gopis, they are all, the aborigines and the gopis, they are all that residents of Vrindavan with the same prema, that, but it are our acharyas who make that difference. That, but yeah, it seems the Jachnapatnas, they were from Mathura. That we have also learned in that chapter when we discussed it, that they were from Mathura. And that's interesting. That normally the Mathura Vasis they are not in. It could be that they lived at the outskirts of Mathura. I don't know. Anyway, that's what I understood. Any further comments or?
No, Maharaj, thank you so much.
Okay, and then next one is Pavitra Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, Mathura is said to be a holy land where Krishna took birth. And Krishna grew up in Vrindavan. Presently, we have a temple in Vrindavan. We don't have ISKCON temple in Mathura. Why?
Of course, the Krishna Balaram in our temple in Vrindavan are cowherd boys. They are from Vraj. But of course, if Krishna and Balaram would be Mathura, of course, ISKCON temple is always Vrindavan, but yeah, I don't know why we don't have a temple in Mathura. But, do we have a temple there? I'm not aware of that. But yeah, but we should have. Lord Chaitanya said in every town and village. But of course in Mathura they are worship. I remember when I did a Vrajamandal Parikram, we saw Radha Krishna deities in Mathura, but they were worshipped more in an official way. That these were not ISKCON temples, an official way, and you could see the devotion was different from in our temple. We have a very high standard of deity worship, very beautiful. But Krishna and Balaram, I didn't see in Mathura, no. Yeah. But maybe some other devotees may comment on that. So, any other points?
Yes, Maharaj, that means women of Mathura, they are not gopis.
The women of Mathura,
They cannot be.
Those who spoke these verses, no. Of course, yeah. Nanda Maharaj is there, we know. That cowherd men are there. But yeah. There may be gopis, certain gopis from Vraj, but I don't remember. That in that verse 17, it says, yes, there it speaks about the wrestlers. Yeah, the women, the men of Mathura, that the women of Mathura, that his parents, the king of the Ubochas, Kamsa, the intelligence and so on, and the freshness. But I think also Nanda Maharaj was there. It's not mentioned here. That's maybe Mother Prabhupada Priya can help us here. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
I was more on Mother Sitarani's point that about the Yagyapatnis, when you were reading the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was saying that this was spoken by the Yagyapatnis, I was imagining that, like, you know, just as we heard in the past time, that the Yagyapatnis knew about Krishna, having heard about him from these Aborigine women that would come selling flowers and fruits and things for their yagyas. So I imagine that through those same Aborigine women, because they live in the forest, whatever goes on in the forest, they see, you know, they observe. So they might have also seen the Rasa Leela dance, or at least heard from, you know, and they talk amongst themselves. So then the Yagyapatnis could have gotten to know that. And because Krishna was grazing the cows that day, you know, the day that they went to beg food from the Brahmins. So they weren't in Mathura, they were in some pasture, you know, they were in the forest, they were in some big field where the cows were eating grass. So in my mind, the Yagyapatnis reside, you know, in the, not, you know, like in the outskirts, like you said, the outskirts of Vrindavan, not in the city of Mathura, because the city wouldn't be a grazing land. But somewhere, you know, not near where Krishna and Nandaraj and Yashoda live, but out the other side of the field somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Like that. So they're in Vrindavan. They don't directly see those things, but they hear, you know, because, you know, like how women just talk. Whenever the women are together, they talk about the latest thing. And of course, they're going to talk about Krishna in Vrindavan.
Yeah.
So when whoever they meet, it's like, oh, did you see Krishna? What did he do?
Yeah, we get here insights in the communication systems in Vrindavan. There is also Devi and the parrots and so many things are going on. It's
Like even nowadays, when you go to Vrindavan, you see all the women going to collect water, you know,
Yeah.
with the water pots going to the local well, and the bunch of women there all talking.
all talking.
So they don't need a newspaper. They get to know all what's happening when they meet like that.
Yeah, it's glorious. It's glorious. Thank you for sharing that. Because so Murli Shyam Prabhu. So
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance, Maharaj. I got some curiosity I have some curiosity when we are discussing the Aborigines, where they was witnessed the pastime of the Lord. They not also, are there any pastime with this Aborigines with the Lords, or are they not joining with the Lord in the Rasa Leela, where we are inquiring for it and all these things there? So what happened to them if they witness all these things where their pastime with the Lord is not mentioned? I don't know. I'm not free to come to on this. Is anything about them, Maharaj?
they are mentioned a few times, like when they were selling fruits and things for the forest, and you have the pastime of Krishna with the fruit lady. When she came, Krishna was in his Damodar Lila came out. Well, als Damodar, I mean, that he came out to trade some rice against the fruits, and so that is one instance where it is mentioned. The Aborigines are also mentioned that they used to collect the kurkum powder in the dust of Vrindavan, which Krishna, when Krishna embraced the gopis, and the kurkum from their breast fell on the ground, and they used to push it. They put this kurkum on their bodies, and they felt ecstatic by that. So that's also where they are mentioned. So they are mentioned a few times. But yeah, is that okay?
Thanks, Maharaj.
Okay. So we are going back to
Hi.
Priya.
Great. Raj, do you know a book that was written by His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami, Creative Monologues? Have you seen that book?
Creating?
It's called Creative Monologues in Krishna Leela or something like that. So what he does is he asks different devotees to take characters in Krishna's pastimes and have those characters express themselves, express their feelings about Krishna, something that they saw Krishna do. You haven't seen that book?
I didn't see that book. Is that recent or?
It's from a while ago. It's from maybe yeah, maybe
probably during his academic time in Oxford.
Maybe, yeah. It was really, I helped with editing that book, so I went through it. But it's very interesting. I was just thinking, I was remembering it because I was thinking it would be very interesting to write a monologue, like from the perspective of one of these Aboriginal women, you know, speaking, you know, like just, it's creative. So it's like you're imagining what you saw.
I remember the book now.
You remember it?
I read it also a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I know, this is a way of
entering more deeply into the feelings.
Your mind enter more deeply in this.
It's so good.
And it's beautiful. Yeah.
So, I mean, wouldn't it be cool to have, like, you know, someone could have written from the perspective of one of these Aboriginal women that she happened to see. She saw the kumkum there, or she went to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Happened to witness a small pastime.
yeah, you can derive all this information from these commentaries and
Yeah.
and put that together. Would be nice, yeah, would be a nice meditation. So there's no limit on this times really. That's a nice comment, thank you. That if there's something else, please. That yes, Mulidarsyan Prabhu, please.
Maharaj, sorry, it's again take me on this aborigines again, where we as a jiva, we are anchoring to join, but when we see they are just witness, so why they are not joining with the Rasa Leela of the Lord, where they just witness? Or
I didn't get your point. That
I'm asking, like now we sing the gopis when Krishna's playing his flute, so the gopis running towards Krishna. And now, but when we sing, go through, you see the Obajanists just witness this Rasa Leela, collecting kungum. Why not they also join in the Leela of the Lord? The Rasa Leela of the Lord.
Why did they not enter the Rasa Leela?
Yes.
Yeah, because they have a different mood. They have a different mood. This aborigines, that the love of the gopis is quite unique, and that has been described here today. This love of the gopis, and that's the point. The women of Mathura, our commentator says, they put the gopis and these aborigines on the same level, but they are not. There are intensities of prema in different moods, but they feel, because the gopis are feeling conjugal attraction, and I don't know these aborigines, but really their mood is. That, but it would be interesting to explore that difference, but I can't answer really. That's your question. But their mood must be different. That for sure. Good. Thank you. That I look forward to see you again on Friday. I will be again in another place, that in Dutsk. That is 150 kilometers from here, another place. And we will discuss, and then hear the killing of Kamsa. That then the main subject of this chapter will be fulfilled. Thank you very much.
Maharaj, may I request you to please end the meeting because Shakti is not here?
Yeah, I will end the meeting now. Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.